Today, I will be discussing Love is Blind, Season 8, Episodes 1 to 6. And who is my lovely guest? Got her back again. It is Aid. Hi, Aid. Welcome back again.
Thank you. Glad to be back. Um, I don't think I said this last time, but I have missed our lovely audience. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't really missed doing the podcast.
There she goes. Honesty.
I don't want to go into the whining of it all, but um, yeah, I'm good. I'm good making my guest appearances. Let's put it like that. This is truly a joy to come back, do a little something something with you. I'm glad to be back for a short little spurts here and
And they miss you too. I get all the messages that I'm supposed to forward to you, but I do let you know from time to time that they miss you too. But I mean, honestly, I understand. We were in this journey together for how many years? It is a lot of work. It just kind of, takes on and you have to watch, take notes and all that. So, but I'm glad to have you back every now and then. And like I said the last time, I'm going to try to have you back a lot of times. So,
we'll see. But I just want to add though that I was really excited this week when I listened to the podcast. And South Jersey Pete was on, our friend. I was so excited, and he was very funny.
yeah. I know. It was just fun. It was just like been a long time. Like you feel like you know somebody, and then he got on and had all the thoughts and the shares, and when he read verbatim the Carla and Juan thing, I was like, you know what? Thank you, because I really had no recollection. So it was great. It was great to have him on. Okay. This was a good one. I'm glad you're here for this because we have a lot of thoughts, but it's a lot of nothing. I'm gonna say this, and then our podcast is gonna be like the episode is gonna be like 2 hours. But what a season eight is
What
that the best thing to say?
I'll tell you this. I for some reason, Minnesota and Minneapolis. There are a couple of people who I have followed from 4 years who live there. And so I have this perception of the state and kind of the people,
Oh, we remember it. I remember what you said last time.
that they are really nice, that they are a special kind of Midwest nice. They are very liberal. I mean, I don't know. I would love to hear from the people from the city. I feel like they're not happy with their representation. And they don't think it's as much as the Houston season was an issue, it
Hmm.
was actually a pretty fair representation of Houston. I don't know that the same can be said of this. I'll wait for the people from there to chime in, but I don't. The only part that I was like, this is very nice. These people are very nice. At the beginning, I was like, this is very Midwest nice, and then I was like, yeah, and it's very Midwest boring too.
Yeah, it is. But going back to the Midwest nice, it felt like it was the equivalent of the South of bless your heart because they seem nice, but I swear I found myself asking, is this genuine? Is this calculated? Oh my God, do they really care? And I just felt like nice is in air quotes at this point. But I'm with you. I need people from Minnesota to weigh in on, is this an accurate representation of your hometown? Because wow. And it's not okay. What for me, I want to say it was boring, but I don't know if it's because there was a lot of chit chat, like a lot. And I had to question if it was 6 episodes last. I think we talked about it and we're like, oh, yeah, it was 6 episodes last season. But what I don't know is if the 6 episodes, they'd already gone to the honeymoon and they'd already had like some drama already. But this was 6 episodes of chit chat, pods. And I don't know who asked for it.
The thing is, nothing really happened in the pods. Were
Yes.
there the excitement in the pods are always going to be the love triangles or the love quadrangles,
Mm-hmm.
the what happens between the men and the women in the common spaces. They really weren't giving too much of it, and these people didn't get very deep. Like that's why it was chit chat. Uh, have people said some crazy stuff in the pods? Yes, but these people. I mean, at one point, Madison talked a lot about her background and her tragedies, and I it was an anomaly because no one else was really getting that deep about like how their childhood or their upbringing was affecting. Like I don't know.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that because I have thoughts on that. Um, Here's the thing about this cast too, because I'm saying it's boring. It's not any different from all the other season. I think what it is I've just never seen such a group of bland people in my life. Like in other seasons, we've had people stand out where I can say, oh, this person's gonna be on perfect. Listen, DC was a crapshoot, but there's still people that like, oh, this person has a personality. There are no like personalities standing out for me this season. Did you
Are these
feel that
people
way?
too well adjusted?
I don't think these people are well adjusted. I really think they're very good at keeping their maladjustment under buried deep inside, and then it comes up as nice, and then it's like, which one are you? Like, what are you? I don't know. I don't know what it is, but something felt off.
People really just didn't stick out, and honestly, everybody, both male and female, looked the same, except for, I mean, except for our black people who were not Somali, which was another thing that I was like, were there any Somalis cast, Somali Americans even cast on this?
Yeah, because they do have a large group of Ethiopians, Eritreans, and Somalis over there, and I don't know. I don't know what the casting pool is like, but it was just. I'm just gonna come out and say it. It was not a diverse pool. I just, and
Nope.
that's besides the people that were chosen or who were gonna get married or engaged or anything. Even in the background, there were like two black guys, Devin and the other guy, the other black guy that was there. I didn't see a lot of Asians. I don't know that I saw a lot of Latino. Like it just wasn't a diverse cast.
And then when we say lack of diversity, I'm sorry, the women, almost all of them have either long blonde hair, long dark blonde hair, and we had like one brunette in there.
And a redhead.
Oh, Molly the redhead, thank God
Yeah.
for her. And then the guys, I'm sorry, they all kind of look nothing distinctive except for Joey with the hair, thank God. But everybody else, I was struggling to be like, who is that?
Yeah, and when they sat down, I'm like, okay, at least Daniel is short king. But when he sat down, I was like, is this Daniel? Does he look short? I don't even know who this is, but that was something. But I'll say that there were some differences this season. I noticed that the conversations were like free flowing in terms of like they had a lot of aligned people, like a lot of people who had like things. I mean, even those that didn't go on people's Instagram profile, but just things like, oh, they went to Catholic school together. Oh, they're a Packers fan or something. Just things that they had that were similar. And no one was really dressed to the nines. Like even on engagement night, I think Monica was in shorts, which is different. Usually it's like they know it's engagement day and they're all like dressed to the nines. That wasn't the case here. Um, we got a lot of politics talk. Again, don't know if that was done on purpose, but they made sure that they talked about it in depth and they showed it. And also, they upped the budget for money. They actually played like original soundtracks. Like we got Billie Eilish,
I
and I'm
know
like,
the music
wow,
was amazing.
yeah. So they splurged for Minnesota this season. I'm like, why this? I don't know. If it were me, I'll do what the Amazing Race did one season since they shoot this like a while ago. I would have flipped last season DC and put it this for this season and put Minneapolis for the previous season. Because remember when they did the reunion, they had a couple of people. I don't remember which of them showed up at the reunion, and we're looking like, huh, is this who they got? I think Nana and I were like, this does not look promising. They look pretty boring. So I would have flipped the seasons and then just had DC for this season if it were me. But I don't know.
I don't see what difference it makes.
Well,
You have to put out your season probably in the order that you shot it. I don't see the
nah,
point in yeah,
um,
doing that.
I don't know. Amazing Race did it and it worked. So my problem also is every season, why on earth do they always start with potential spoilers? Like I already saw two brides running to the car, so no one who said yes is running to the car.
Ugh.
And
Do we want to go through like sort of our end state, or how do we want to talk about each couple?
we'll just how I had in mind was like we'll just go through all the pre-talk, all the things, and then we'll just go with their reveal
Okay.
at the end through that. Vanessa says that this is their biggest season in that they have more people to choose from. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, it seemed to make absolutely no difference. No effect at all.
They have this new segment now where they're chit chatting with the Lachey's and they're asking them questions. And then we have someone who we find out is Molly, who's never had a boyfriend, who's hoping that this would be her first boyfriend and then her husband. And you know what I was thinking, Aid? I was like, oh boy, here we go. I think my rule of thumb applies here too for maths. What do you think?
Repeat that? What's your rule of thumb?
That if you've never had a boyfriend, you should not be cast on maths or Love is Blind. Now is here is not the place to find out if you can have a husband. Kind of like when Emily didn't have a had never been in a relationship, never had a boyfriend, and she came on maths to find a husband. So my rule of thumb is never been in a relationship, never had a boyfriend, you should not be on these shows.
I disagree. I think I've always disagreed. I think I
Yes.
disagreed with Emily.
Yes.
I'll just leave it there. I disagree. I think it's perfectly fine.
I just think like in the same way where there are people who have traumas and need to be sorted out and stuff, I don't think they should use somebody else as an experiment from the leap from boyfriend to husband. But like we discussed earlier, all the girls look alike. I don't know if you ever watch Southern Charm, but Taylor looks so much like Naomi from Southern Charm to me.
I don't watch Southern Charm.
Oh, oops. Um So then we had Devin and Brittany, who were the only who were the well one of the black couples that we had this season. What was your first impression of them?
Oh my gosh. Brittany. I liked her a lot, except for the fact that her name is Brittany. Um, I mean, I say this as a person with a very difficult name. I'm just like, but why are we making this harder than it needs to be? And then I'm sorry when she's like B dot and he's like debug. I'm like, are they me or is that like really terrible nicknames? I in general don't tend to like a lot of nicknames,
hmm
and those to me were some of the worst.
So what did you like in terms of compatibility in their
You're like, oh, their
chats?
actual relationship, not that.
Yeah.
I I was rooting for them, but yeah, I was rooting for them. I thought that like I liked the fact that they had surface things in common, and I know that part of the casting is like they are trying to pre-match people. I just I thought everything was going so great for them. I thought they had good chemistry. I thought things were great. And then when she said that thing about I have, dated women before, I'm bisexual, but I envision myself married to a man. I was
hmm
really proud of her because yes, he was trying to say the right
Yes.
thing. He was trying to give himself time to
Yes.
process. Those are all just fine. But that type of reaction, he has an issue with it. He just didn't know how to put it into words. And she
Yes.
picked up on it
Yes,
with
I
a
was really proud of
quickness
her.
and was like,
Yes,
"It's
I was
cool.
really
We
proud of
don't
her for
I don't
being
your
decisive
reaction
and
is not the
even
reaction of
sharing
someone who I
that
see myself with
because
long
even when
term.
she
So, I'm
started
done."
the
Very
conversation and
kindly.
she's like, I'm a very indecisive person. My mom just put the food for me. I was like, where are we going? Where are we going with this? But I'm glad that she took a stand and she didn't wait for him to make the decision. I do see a lot of people holding that against him. Do you hold that against him that he didn't want to be with someone who was bisexual? Because I think the only thing that really kind of annoyed me was when he said, "Are you going to cheat on me with a woman?" I'm like, okay, what does that mean? She could also cheat on you with a man. But but other than that, like, she shared it for a reason because that was the same thing season 1, right? When he
Oh man.
didn't share that he was bisexual and she felt like she didn't have a choice to decide if that was okay with her or not. But what was your whole thought about the whole thing? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I've never, I think, had the opportunity to like talk to a bisexual person one on one
Yeah.
about their thoughts and feelings on dating, marriage. That's not true. Lauren, definitely. We talked to Lauren, who
Yeah.
fit all those categories. I think that as a bisexual person, people are still learning what that means and how that
Yeah.
works. So there has to be, I guess, I don't know if there has to be, but I guess
Deviance.
having a little grace doesn't hurt. But I also think people think of bisexual people as some sort of like sex crazed, can't make a decision people, hence why they're bi. And I'm like, I don't. I think there needs to be some further
Mm,
understanding about that.
mm.
And
Ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? If you're a woman, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living rent free in our environment right now. In our food, our water, the air we breathe, the clothes we wear, our skincare, and they all mess with our hormones. Then there's the natural hormonal changes our bodies go through. There's perimenopause, there's menopause. Whew. It's a lot. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean we don't suffer through it. But I have good news for you. We don't have to suffer through any of this anymore because now we have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Happy Mammoth, the company that created Hormone Harmony, is dedicated to making women's lives easier. And that means using only science backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and it shows. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code AltacallMaths at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code AltacallMaths, that's ALTARCALLMAFS, for 15% off today.
I also think there's something to be said for just
Yeah.
taking people at their word. If someone says to
I don't know.
you, "I'm bisexual, but I want to be married to a man," that's how I envision my
It's a
life.
situation. I
Why are
think
you
what I'm
looking for
just
the
proud of,
lie?
I guess, is she brought it up, and he wasn't quite honest with his feelings. To be honest, she was the one that kind of pulled it out from him, and they decided what was best for them rather than going into it and then she drops it and then it becomes like a whole thing. And I'm glad that she found out before they went any further, and she realized that this is not her person. So I did find it crazy, and again, it could be editing, how different his conversations with Virginia, who's the other black person, was, because they were having deep conversations, and that's Devin and Brittany. But with Virginia, I think when she sat down, he was like, "Oh, what's your fashion? What are you wearing? I'm all about the fashion and the sneakers and all that stuff." And he also found out that she was a dancer, I think in the NBA, and they went to the same high school. So when they mentioned that, I thought that he was going to be the person that knew who she was
Yes.
ahead of time. Well,
I found
par
it
for
interesting
course.
that both of the people that Devin matched with
Of
were
course.
4 to 5 years older than
Um,
him.
let's talk about Dave. How
Par
would you
for
feel if
course.
you were in the pods and someone's just like, "Why are you here? What's wrong with you?" Would you see the humor in that? Or would you be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Dave thought he was
So
so
you're no
funny,
longer
and his
attractive?
jokes were
Yeah.
so bad. All of like, it was more than one. There was the over 30, are you like old something or whatever joke.
No.
Like, there was just
No.
there kept on being jokes and and none of them were funny.
Hmm.
Does your Netflix have ads? Side topic, but okay. So my Netflix had ads because I refused to pay to not have them. The ad that was like for Love Is Blind was an International Delight ad with Taylor and Garrett. And when they popped up on my screen, that was I had not given them a thought since they left my screen. And I was like, they must have been the cheapest couple. Like, you couldn't
I'm
get
thinking
Lauren and
it's because
Cameron because
maybe
they're
they're the
probably too
most recent.
expensive for you guys. But
And
Taylor and
honestly, as
Garrett
much
were
as Lauren
probably a
likes to
bargain
say
deal
like
because
there's
who
no
remembers them?
beef, I just feel like they've distanced themselves from the show. There's always something or an
Sure.
excuse whenever something happens, but then when you ask her, she's like, "Oh no, we don't have any beef with them." But yeah, I think otherwise. I think otherwise. Um, David in his confessional is like, I've
There's
been an
beef.
ass to women in the past. I work in medical aesthetics, which I was like, what is that? But it's like Botox, fillers, all that stuff. He's like, so he knows what a woman should look like? Okay. And he's like, he came here to confront himself about this and to find out, more about himself and things like that. And this is what I mean. This is not a therapy session. There are other people involved in this. Here is not the time for you to find out about yourself and why you treat women the way they do and if you can treat them any different. So from the beginning, Dave was a red flag to me. Oh, Anyways, I didn't like his boots.
Oh
This is just a sidebar.
yes.
He had this weird suede or whatever, I don't know what it was, gray boots that he wore, whether he was wearing jeans or a suit or whatever. They just really annoyed me. Just wanted to put that out there. Okay, good.
I was watching with a friend, and she had a lot of issues with the shoe situation.
Okay.
It
It's
wasn't
not
just the
just
first
me.
boots. There were other shoes that were equally
We're
as ugly that he
introduced
kept on
to
wearing. I didn't
Molly.
notice
We
until she
mentioned
pointed
up
it out to
up
me.
top that Molly was like the redhead that was on there, and she's the one who's never been in a relationship, and she was like she could get a boyfriend if she wanted to, but she has been in like situationships, and I really liked Molly. What did you think of Molly? I thought like she was bubbly and just pretty cool. Mm.
She seemed a little bit like more
I like
than everybody else. Maybe it was
everyone's
the
been
red
complaining
hair.
about hers, and
I'm
I
not
kept
gonna
looking. I
lie,
was like,
I'm
I
not
don't
a
think I
fan
have a
of
problem with
bangs.
hers. Hers is
Um,
fine, I think.
I'm not a fan. I think they make people look very retro. Like, but it's fine. Everybody's entitled to their own look. But yeah, I mean, she was pretty cool. Honestly, the only
Molly
thing I liked
and
about her is that
Madison,
she
we're
had
gonna
red
get to
hair, so I could
Madison,
remember
are
who
the
she
two
was.
people
Because
who I
a
fully
lot of the
expect.
time
You
I
know,
was
when they
trying to
do
tell
these
people
shows,
apart.
when we come back to them, they would have had like a full makeover and look completely different than what we see of them on the show right now. Um, there was a conversation, and I don't know if they were talking to Molly or Madison. I don't know if you might remember. I think it was Daniel. It wasn't Daniel. I can't remember. Someone mentioned that they had a sibling, but their sibling passed. But he immediately said, "But we'll get into it the more we talk. We're not just going to get into it right now." And I was like, "This is the right way to not dump everything on someone you just met on the first day." And I appreciated him for that. Okay.
I can't remember who it
Okay.
was, but I don't think he was. Whoever they were was talking to Madison because she also had a sibling pass. So I would think that,
Yes.
yeah.
And
And in terms of dumping on
yes.
people when you just met them, did it feel like to you that Madison did that? We saw her do that to multiple people, and I was like, I
Hmm.
feel bad because I do not understand that situation, so I don't feel exactly
Yeah.
comfortable telling people
So
how
my
they're supposed to
thought
go about
is,
it. But it made me
I
uncomfortable.
think
I
she
was like,
was
but
self
why? Why are you
sabotaging.
dumping this on people on the first
She
date? Can we
knows
wait till the
exactly
second
what
date,
she's
third
doing,
date?
and she's just jumping because she'll say all that. And then when the person, to me, appropriately reacts because you've had years to know about this and they just found out, she'll be like, I'm sorry, is it too much? I'm like, well, kind of when you haven't heard and they don't even know what you look like. But I've seen on the internet that some people don't actually think that everything is true, but it's too sensitive to say whether anything is true or not. So I'm not even going to touch that. But I'm going with the assumption that it is true. But if it is, again, another person that I think there's just a lot. I feel like there's still stuff that she needs to process. She says that she does, but I think there's a lot that Madison needs to work through. And I think at some point we physically saw her, towards the end when the whole drama comes along, where she's physically reacting to what happens by tapping her fingers and she can't help herself. She tells him about disassociating and just like, I'm not just gonna be there. And I think that was a cause for concern that is valid because he kept saying, are you going to be able to communicate with me? And it just seemed like so much that she needs to deal with before adding the stress of marrying a stranger, really. Cause
Hmm. I didn't. I felt like she's dealt with things. She appeared to me to a
mm,
person who has been in a lot of therapy and has dealt with a lot of things and
mhm.
understands herself pretty well. I besides the fact that I felt like she kind
Oh,
of hit
okay.
people in the
I
beginning a
think
little
for
too
me,
fast.
at
This
the
is
end
what
of
I
it,
mean
in the
by even
beginning, I think
her.
I
I
even
thought she
wrote
was
down
pretty. She
Madison is my
appeared
favorite
pretty well
because I
lit.
liked the way she was saying things, the way she was doing things, and all that. Then as we progressed, I was like, oh. I can't get a read on this. I don't know if she was being manipulative with the whole thing with Lauren. Like, was she saying things at the right time or was she not? And then as we move further, I was just like, I cannot get a read on her, and I'm not, something again is off about her. Like she's a functioning whatever it is. That was my read on her. Not to say that it's right or anything, because it has been a tough life that, she's been through. So yeah, I liked her and Mason though in their first conversation, but they got a side eye for the whole Brett Favre, because if I'm not mistaken, that's the same guy that took money, right? Okay, just making sure. He did.
Yes, yes, Brett Favre.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if look, I'll give him
Uh-huh.
this. He didn't take the money. Well, no, he did take the money. What am I talking about? He took the
Uh-huh.
money to build his daughter's like volleyball
Yeah,
court.
and
Then he
they
took
were
the money for
very
like
holy.
speaking
Oh,
fees,
that's it. I mean, I
or
get
they
it. It
gave
was
him the
in
money for
the
speaking
honor
fees, and he
of her
refused to give it.
brother, but
Anyway, Brett
I
Favre
would save that
sucks.
for inside conversation. But that was just me. um, I think Dave and Molly were connecting, and Dave asked Molly what her styles in relationship is, who takes the lead, what doesn't take the lead, and it was a quite lengthy conversation. And I was like, well, that's she's never been in a relationship, so how does she know what styles there is? But did you notice there was a 42-year-old? None. None at all. And that was very interesting to me because I'm like, was she just willing? I would have loved to.
Yeah, but
I
they
think this
brought like
time they
no
only
play
focus
at
on all the
all.
people who are getting engaged, but I think they should have thrown in a little bit of confessionals to know, her reasoning here. Was she okay with a younger man? Does she have kids? Is she okay with someone like I just want to understand the process of a 42-year-old who wants to be on Love is Blind, because that's a conscious decision, and I would have loved to know what that thought process was. um,
If you're
what
not
else is
getting
there? Okay,
engaged,
the
I don't
talk
get
of
what you're saying.
politics with everyone. Were you with me where you agree that there was a lot more of it? Hmm.
Yeah, and in the DC season, it made sense. Like, that's the company town.
Do you remember
Um,
who made the
Out
comment?
here in Minneapolis, it actually
I think
also
it was
makes sense in
Dave and
context, but it was
Dave and
still
Molly, when it
surprising.
was like, "Oh, Madison, why does political parties matter?" And verbatim, it shouldn't matter. We don't have to agree on everything. And that really rubbed me the wrong way, because not all groups have the privilege to say that, to just be like, it doesn't matter, because it does matter. If a person is in the LGBTQ community and there's an administration that is not protecting them, or if me as a black person and I don't feel protected and I'm seen as less than, it is going to matter to me if I'm with someone who doesn't agree with that. So how do you say, why do political parties matter?
Politics
Yeah.
doesn't matter when you think it's all theoretical, and that will not affect you, and you don't even care that much if it affects
Yourself.
people
Yeah,
around you.
pretty
It's a
much.
to me
And
when
then
when
Ben
people
and
say that,
Sarah.
it's you're communicating to
um
me that you really only care
Gosh.
about yourself.
I just I don't, I can't believe they got engaged. Let me just put it that way, because Sarah was like,
That was disgusting
yes, I thought she was gonna uh
because you thought she had values. But she didn't. And people, it's a good lesson for all of us about the Sarahs of the world. There are people out there talking a very good game about the so-called things that they believe. And at the first sign of everything about him
I
is
mean,
perfect except for this
my
one
only
thing
hope
that
is
doesn't
that she
actually
is going
matter
to
because I'm
figure
willing
out
to
and they're not
overlook
going to
it.
get
They're like,
married.
okay, it's
Because
fine.
she
I'll
asked him, what do
teach
you talk
you.
about politics? He was
Dude,
like, oh, I try to stay out of it. I didn't even vote. Okay, let that go. Then she goes, well, it's really important to me. Like, you have to be an ally. What are your thoughts on Black Lives Matter? He was like, I have no thoughts. Like, I try to stay out of it. And then she's like, it happened in your backyard. How can you stay out of something like that? You know? Yeah. Yeah.
that's because he's lying. He's thought about it. He knows that his thoughts will not get her this woman. So they mysteriously disappeared. You have look, you live in Minneapolis. That is where George Floyd was murdered. There
Yeah.
are
And
protests
his
across the country, across the world, based on something that happened in your town, and you're like,
And
"Oh,
also, I
I
don't even
just
know
don't
why
pay
she's
attention."
asking because if someone tells you they're
You're
staying out of
lying. You're
it, that
lying
is an
because you
answer.
know that
He's
you
like,
have
oh, I'm
opinions
willing
that will
and I'm
not get you
open
to
to
your
learn
goals.
about it. We have information overload. There is information everywhere. You're not now going to do that because you're getting married to this lady. If you wanted to, you would have. So I don't know. She's like, as long as you're willing and open to learn about this because it's a big part of my life. And I'm like, okay. He's suddenly at his big age of 30 or whatever he is going to do that. But that was really irritating. And like you said, disgusting. I found it so self serving when she went back and she made sure to talk
Uh,
to, I think it was
And she's a
Virginia
liar too. It's not a
about
big
it.
part of your
And she's
life.
like, and I asked him, what does he think about Black Lives Matter? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Like, listen, I'm an ally. Listen to me go. And yet you said yes and said he was perfect. All right. Yeah. For a pat on
And
the
why did you
back.
have this conversation with one of the white people and think no, you went for the black person for
All
probably
right,
to
let's talk about
absolve
the
you
whole
of picking this
Dave,
guy.
Molly, Lauren situation.
Look at my allyship, my
For one,
performative
I think I
allyship.
appreciate when they keep who they're talking to themselves, but I think it went too far this season because now everyone is claiming like they don't know who it is, but by like process of elimination, because I think what happens is you start the dates, then you start giving your top five or whatever, and then you start talking to the same people every day. So I think they're able to realize who is talking to who or not. So this whole thing between Lauren and Molly, I think he was playing them both. Agree or disagree?
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I find it always
Mm-hmm.
difficult. Trust me, I think Dave sucks for many reasons. But the whole premise of the show is that you're going to be talking to multiple people at the same time. And I think it's a hard line to go from like committing to some person while also
Okay.
having your insurance
So,
backup.
because I was confused as it went on, I was really trying to get through all the
So
six
I,
episodes
I,
and I was like, oh my
I
God,
think,
I'm still
yeah, I
here.
don't know.
But I went back to go rewind and I went to go listen because at the point where she came out and was like, oh, he told me I'm his number one. Oh, he's going to break up with her and all that stuff. And I was like, did I hear that? Even I was confused. So I went to go rewind. David did tell Molly, you are my number one. You are the person that I'm going to be with. And she was like, oh, so you're going to end it? He said something. He didn't quite say, oh, I'm going to, but he was like, yeah, we're going to have a conversation. And if that's what happens, so be it. I'm good with that. So she's not crazy because Lauren was like, either she's Delulu or I'm Delulu. Oh, I'm Delulu and I don't know what's going on. And I just think Lauren was making it a big deal. Molly was cool. Like whoever you're talking to, it's fine. Lauren was having a meltdown. Oh, I have to separate. Ooh, this is the whole, like you said, premise of the show. So I don't know what you're getting so upset about. And you chose not to share. You asked her to share and then you didn't want to share. So deal with that. But then when she went back, Dave said, I absolutely did not say that, making it seem like Molly was trying to be like mean spirited and things like that. And I think it was Sarah who was like, I think he's playing you guys. And then Lauren interpreted that as, I know I'm not dumb. So I'm like, so it was very, but I would give him grace because I think he was like, I don't even remember what I said. This is so overwhelming. So that was a very interesting triangle. And I loved how she handled it because we're thinking that he's gonna break up with Lauren, and then she walks in, and then all of a sudden, she's the one who gets broken up with. Did you expect that? Because I didn't. I was like, what is happening right now? And I liked how she held his feet to the fire because he
No, I did
wasn't
not expect
actually
that.
saying it. And she's like, say it, stand on 2 feet and actually say you're ending it. He's like, oh, I thought I just did that. I have something. No, you were saying it vague again. So this is not going to end well for Lauren, is all I can say.
Oh, because Dave sucks. And beyond the fact, the way that
Mm-hmm.
went about the
Nah,
process,
these invisible
he
sisters
also
seem to
is
have a hold.
just
He was
like he doesn't
sobbing,
seem like
like
that
not
great as
just
a
crying.
human
He was
being.
sobbing because he was thinking about his sister and what his sister is gonna think about this whole thing. And somebody else mentioned their sister too, and I'm like, who are these like controlling sisters that are controlling their brothers' love lives? Like, it's weird.
It was very weird. Um, that to me was a huge red flag, actually, a huge red flag. And we're gonna. It looks like in the preview that that's gonna continue to be an issue. Is the sister? If the sister says, "I don't think anybody's ever gonna be good enough for my brother," and I also think there's also this idea like the type of women who go on Love Is Blind. Okay, well, is your brother the type of man who goes on Love Is Blind? They're of equal quality. Um, I didn't care. I think that's going to be a disaster. But I also think if someone says that, you should really interrogate why your
Exactly. It's
sister
not
is
like Dave's
delusional
surprise.
enough to not recognize that you're like a human
It's
being with
a weird
flaws.
flex
Actually,
when
you
the
have a lot
moms
of
and
them.
the cousins
Um,
and the sisters are like, no one's good enough. Who are you? Ugh, so weird. Um, okay. Who else is there for us to talk about? Alex. Alex, Madison, Mason. This is where I started turning on Madison. I was going back and forth, and I really do think there was some manipulation that was going on because who was the fourth person in their triangle? The other blonde lady? Meg, there you go. Meg. There was a whole thing. Meg, I'm not gonna say she's a lot, but she's
I think
exuberant.
Meg.
Is that a good word to describe her? Yeah, but you know, and it was curly too. So
Yeah,
I think she got
and her
along
hair
with
was a little bit
Mason. I
shorter, so I
think
could
the
kind of
most
distinguish her
was
from the
the
rest.
serendipity thing was when he was speaking to Madison and he mentioned the whole her movie and she didn't know who it was and then she went and then Meg actually just said it on her own. Have you seen the movie Her? And he nearly lost his shit. Like, oh my God, you just mentioned this and all that stuff or whatever. But Madison, going around and then saying, you need to make a choice because Meg is just very open about I'm smitten by this man. I want this man. And, Madison's like, you need to make a choice. You need to decide what you want to do. And then Mason does decide and makes a choice and tells her. And immediately he told her, she's like, ugh, I don't want you anymore. No, 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 no. I don't want that. And that became messy, from there. And that's where I'm just like, is Madison playing games? Like, you just want to be wanted. Alex is who she really wants. I don't think they're compatible because there were a couple of things she said, and Alex was like, huh, okay, I'm not really sure. And he's hesitant about things. But I don't know. What did you think about their compatibility? Did you think he or Mason were a better fit for her?
I couldn't keep it all straight, to be honest with you. I could try to come up with an opinion, but this is definitely a group of
I don't
people who
know.
I'm
I don't
sorry, I
think
could not
like
keep track of the
I
storyline
first of all
or
I don't
who
think she should
was
be on the show. I
sleeping.
don't think any
Sorry, I
of
gotta
them
defer to
were
you, Jen,
because
on
I
this
just
one.
think like this is the tip of the iceberg of what we're seeing with Madison, and it was just the after effects of everything. Alex knowing that she was going to break up with Mason about this and then being in the men's quarters and then making conversation with him saying good luck man, this is going to be a good day, knowing that she'd already chosen, that's a step too far. And then after she breaks up with him and he comes back, Alex is the first one to make a beeline to go hug him. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe you two deserve each other because why? There's so many other men. Let them do it. But the way Madison broke up with Mason was savage. She starts with, I don't know, you may have heard the news. I'm like, what? And then maybe we can be friends at that line that men use like I don't know, I'm just saying, just be honest. And that's because he turned around and said like he made a mistake, he thought about it, and she's not really the one that he really likes, that it was Megan. Oh, I said Megan. Meg was his number one. And that really bruised her ego. And this is what she's going to hold on to till the end of time. Because we hear about it, we see it in the previews, it's not done at all. And then to come back and then go to Meg and say all the things like I told him that he's going to lose two of us, like you're not going to be impressed. Why are you thinking for this woman? Like stick to your story. Again, you don't even want the guy. So that's a little evil for me. Like stop it. That's where like she lost me on that. But I was surprised that Meg actually came in and cut it off with Mason. I didn't think she would. Usually they just go along with it, especially since Zach and Bliss made it work. So, oh, I was surprised that she didn't try to find out if he really liked her or not. And I don't know if he did or not either. I don't even think he knew. Well, the funny part was that Mason carried two trays of uneaten food. He had breakfast with Madison. He had to take it back, and then he got broken up by with Meg and had to take lunch back. But
The breakfast
mhm,
food was like this
it was very
full
emotionally stressful.
plate of
He
food
was
that
being
was,
broken.
there was like three pancakes, not a bite out of one of them. It was very
Maybe they weren't
confusing.
expecting breakups. Well, she was. She was going to do
I'm like, was the
things.
food just there to look good? Because no
um,
one ate it.
so in the end, I think towards the end of the pods, Madison and Alex are there together, and then they bring up the whole thing with Mason, and Alex keeps standing up for him, saying, "I understand both sides." Like from where he was coming from, he just thought he messed it up, and didn't know if he was going to tell her. Madison gets really, really upset, and is just like, "I don't know why you keep standing up for him. Like you're invalidating me. You're making it seem like I'm lying and all that." I thought she was making a big deal. I don't know what the rest of the population thinks, but she made it seem like he stole and ate her kid, and I'm like, it didn't seem like a big deal to me. Like I couldn't understand all of that. I don't know what happened there. No, I felt like she was overreacting. Like your focus is on Alex right now. Now, where I can
You felt
understand
like
is
she was
like
reacting
Alex,
to
she
something that
already
you didn't
said,
see.
I feel some type of way that you're standing up for him. Like you don't know my side of the story. He should have just shut up and be like, okay, you're fine. But he kept on, standing up for Mason. That's where I think he did wrong. But everything else, she was like, I just thought it was gross that he said I was his number one. And then the next day he said he made a mistake. You don't do that. I'm like, okay, what's the big deal? You don't want him. Why are you making this a thing?
I,
Oh,
I will
the
say,
you
when
is
we were
Madison?
watching this, me and my friend,
Okay.
she was
What was her
screaming at the
thought? Like,
television,
in what
"You are
way?
ruining this. Why are you ruining this?" Yes. She's like,
Yeah.
"Why this?" Basically,
Yes.
she thought Madison was destroying their relationship unnecessarily by
Yes.
what she was saying to him.
I agree. Like
And
I
he
said,
kept
I
on
do
trying to
feel
fix
like
it,
she's
and
been
she
self
kept on just
sabotaging from the very beginning, which is
ensuring the
why she's
outcome
been
that I guess
dumping
she was looking
everything and then
for.
hiding under the
But
guise of,
yeah,
I'm just being honest. I just want you to know everything about me. It's okay if you can't handle it. Come on. Like, I don't know. Well, she got what she wanted because Alex is just like, well, I don't think we're the right people for each other. She said, are you ending things? He's like, yeah, I guess so. Like we don't need to be together. And I'm like, you know what? You made the right choice. I do not self-diagnosing or anything or whatever. I just think Madison's emotions are a little unstable. I don't think it would have worked out well for them. I just think that was a really big reaction and I don't know what that was about. Like saying he's disgusting. What? Like it's not the first time it's happened in Love is Blind, so not quite sure why she did all that. So, any other thing before we go to the
yeah.
reveal that stood out to you?
You know what I actually found very interesting this season was how many references there were to
Hmm.
time. Um,
Yeah.
like people were like, "Oh, it's only been 10 days," or "It's been 3 days." They usually
Hmm.
leave that out. But it was kind of a shock to the system when they were like,
Maybe
because we know, I think we knew that they talk for
I
like
think it
two
might have been
months,
maybe
but I
it's
guess
always
it's
been
been
10
shortened to
days
10 days.
for that.
It
I don't
adds
know.
to the whole like, this is
But yeah,
crazy.
they were open about a lot of things too because like even the living quarters, somebody mentioned, "Oh, when we go back to the hotel." And I'm like, "Wow, they're actually being open." And then they showed more workouts and I'm like, "Is this in the quarters or not?" And then towards the end when they show the women's hotel, and I'm like, "Okay, the name of the game is transparency this season." So okay, so we go to the reveal. We have not mentioned Monica and Joey, which the Friends reference made me laugh. Like, hey guys, Monica and Joey. But you've always said that the golden couples are the people who come first. And this is indicative of the
I,
season that Monica and Joey were the first to get engaged. See how we didn't mention them at all in our whole.
I was downright confused. I was like, we have seen these people talk no more than two times, I promise. How are they the
And
first
they
people
got
getting
engaged in
engaged?
like maybe the
I
second
truly did not
episode, and
feel
then
like
we
I
didn't
knew a
get
single thing
anything
about either
else
one of them.
until like the
And
sixth
how I
episode.
was
And I'm
so
like, what
confused.
is going on here? But they're the most recognizable couple. I think Monica, she mentioned her dad is from Chile and she was teaching him to dance. I think that's all I know. Joey, I always recognize the long hair and he's kind of nasal when he talks. When they met, this was really awkward for me. I don't know about anybody else. They seemed excited to see each other. She's very surprised at his hair. They didn't kiss, just shock, laughter, nervous energy. And she feels like she drank 10 energy drinks. She was bouncing off, just jumping up and are you in a bouncy cast? Like, what is happening right now? So it was awkward for me. I don't know about you. Hmm.
I didn't. I thought that they were slightly awkward, but like you said, they have that
Yeah.
good excitement energy, that bouncy, happy energy. I mean, there's something to be said for being
Yeah.
happy to see each other.
I think for me,
I
every
have
time they
no
do the
prediction for this
reveal,
couple
I
because
want to
I'm
be
not
able to
sure
tell
what
if
we're
they're
basing their
attracted to
relationship
each
on. We did not
other.
see them.
And I couldn't tell. I couldn't get enough of that. So good luck to them. Everything is going to start popping off in the next batch of episodes. So that's about it for Monica and Joey. And they, like I always say, the boring couples or the ones that might last are usually, I mean, the golden couples are usually the boring couples. So we'll see what happens. Miss Ally Sarah and Ben. I didn't think she looked excited, but then Ben literally sprints to her. And then they kiss, and then she tells us that she thinks that he's cute. And so I'm like, oh, okay, they do like each other and they like everything. Oh, and now they've introduced champagne toast. They have champagne in their dressing rooms. Like it's now longer when they meet. Mm.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's always been that long and they just didn't show us. But it's good to
My
see
only
them
thing was
actually
Ben kept saying, "Do you love me?
interact
Do
for
you
a
love
while
me?"
because
And
then you
then
can
she's
tell
like,
how
"Yeah, I
awkward
love
it
you." And I'm
is
like,
or
"Okay, I love
isn't.
you." And I'm like, "Okay." So good luck to you guys. The only thing I want to see is how their social justice progresses with that. um, Dave and
Watch them never
Lauren.
speak of it again because to her it's not
They,
actually
I
that
mean, they
important.
see each other. They kiss even before he proposes. They're in matching colors. Again, I couldn't tell. Dave keeps talking about how she's everything. I fell in love with her soul. We have things in common. I don't know if he talked a lot about the attraction. I know Lauren is smitten by him, but I couldn't tell anything with them. What was your read on them? Well,
Same. I could not.
yes,
It's so interesting because none of the meetups were a disaster,
yes,
but none of them were giving me like big chemistry or big energy. Everything was just fine.
yes.
Like they kissed. They actually seemed to like each
It's
other for the
spark,
most
yeah.
part. No one I think was like horrified by anybody's appearance, but there was
Yeah.
none of these couples have anything
Yeah,
that makes
Sarah and
me
Ben actually gave us the
predict whether
most,
they'll be
like,
together or
okay,
not.
they
Like
actually
there's
like what
just
they
it's not
see,
even like, oh,
but
I don't
everyone
think, oh, I
else,
do. There's
I
just
can
nothing there.
tell. Another awkward one for me was Virginia and Devin. I just, she's gorgeous. Like, I mean, they're all smiles. Her hands are shaking so bad. He gives her all these compliments. She's not looking him in the eye at all. Like, she's looking down at her ring. She's saying, "Oh, you have nice eyes." He's like, "Huh, I've never heard that before." She goes, "Oh no, it's the shape of them." And I'm like, "What shape is it?" That is so special. They don't kiss. She's like, "Oh, I have to call my mom." And it's just
What?
very awkward for me. They kiss towards the end when he walks her back to her side, but I'm getting buyer's remorse from this, but could be me. Any thoughts on them? Pardon?
Like I said, they fall into my category. It seemed pleasant enough.
Yeah.
I will give you
Okay.
that now that you've pointed
Our
out. I'm
last
like, her
couple was
level of
Daniel
excitement wasn't
and
that high.
Taylor.
It
As a
was
reminder,
higher,
Daniel is what he
but we'll
calls
see.
himself,
We'll
short king.
see.
He's the one that's 5'8". And it's crazy how she said it doesn't matter what he looks like, but like, if he's a lot shorter than I am, it might make it awkward, but I'll just take off my heels, any excuse not to wear heels. They see each other and then they're like, should we shake hands? I'm like, oh God. But then they hug. She seems reserved. And she tells us in the confessional that he is my type, but he's short. But again, an excuse not to wear heels is fine by her. And it's okay. They seemed awkward, but he's like, she's so hot. You're so pretty. You're so whatever. And then we get a 24 hours later, women's hotel.
I
Yes.
I just want to say this man and his height were a whole storyline. From the very beginning, there was a lot of talk
Yeah.
about his height. I also had the joy of watching the first episode
Okay.
again after watching like the sixth episode. And there were a couple things, Easter eggs
Hmm.
that they dropped in there. He had a whole thing about how he loves Christmas. He makes a Christmas card every year by
Yeah.
himself. Da 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 da. I was like, hmm. Uh, and then the height thing. I mean, I noticed that on the first watch. This man talked from the
It's
very
still
beginning.
it's still
I'm
a
short.
TV
I'm
show. They
short.
were
It's a
dropping it
problem. It's
for
a
us.
problem.
So yeah, we get it 24 hours
Anyways,
later,
continue.
and then she tells us it's this whole. She takes a deep breath and is like, "So when I first saw Daniel, he looked so familiar, and I wasn't sure why." I'm like, "This is not Dateline." But okay. And she had an overwhelming feeling that is not the first time he saw her. That a couple of months ago, she got a follow request, and she's fairly positive that he followed her on IG not long before the show. She remembers seeing one picture of him in front of a Christmas tree, and she never followed the account back, but that she has specific things that are in her bio, like she loves Taco Bell, she has loves family, she loves faith, she's a registered nurse. That's a lot in a bio though. But she says she cares about him and she's grown to love him, but she can't ignore her gut feelings that he knew what she looked like the entire time in the pods. Then they meet in the hotel and she confronts him. He says he doesn't follow her. And then she's like, "No, you followed me and unfollowed me." And she asks about the picture. And he says, no, I don't have one there. Like, I have one in front of a fireplace. And she's like, and I think we also have mutual people. And you have to understand how that scares me. Now, at this point, when they're back in the hotels, do they have their phones back? Okay. 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 Because I'm thinking this
They
is their
should have.
holding place
I
before
don't.
the
I thought
honeymoon,
they
so
didn't
I
get them
don't
back until
know
they're about to go on the
if they have
honeymoon.
their
So
phones
I
back or
don't think they
not.
do.
But is he guilty or is he not? Yes. Hmm.
I have a feeling that he is guilty. That said, at first I was like, why is she
Hmm.
making such a big deal about this? Then I was like, there is this whole thing about Love is Blind is that you don't see each other. You don't know what each other looks like. You build the relationship based on just what you say and what you hear, not on what you
Yeah.
see. And I think, fidelity to the process means if someone knows what you look like,
Yeah.
that kind of ruins things a little.
I thought about that and I was like,
My
you
other
could
thought
just do
was
what
she's
the
making a
lady
big
did
deal out
last
of this
season.
because she
She just
wants a group.
left. And it's like, yeah, we just go to Miami and I could just do that. It doesn't need to be a big deal, but it is a storyline. But I do think he's guilty. He looked very guilty. The pause was too long when he said he followed me. He's like, well. It's just-
I don't follow you. It sounded
Yep.
very legalese. Oh, I don't follow you. Which is interesting because it's like,
Yep.
how do you
And
know
that
you
that's why
don't
she was
follow me
smart. She pulled a
unless you
Michelle and
do?
followed up with, "Well, you
Like, do
did
you
follow me,
know
you
everybody
unfollowed me.
you
So
follow
yes, you
on
don't follow
Instagram?
me currently right now, but you did follow me." But I know in his manipulative mind, he's probably thinking, "What does it matter? Even though the whole process is we don't know each other, but if we do have things in common anyways, why can't we just see if we're going to make it work?" But like you said, the whole premise is you're not supposed to know anything. But if you have like a quote unquote heads up and you're saying, "Oh, I love Taco Bell too," because he was the one who put it out there. And then she's like, "Oh, I love Taco Bell." So it's all crazy. But also, as they do the investigations, the producers that is, don't they see that they follow each other or something like? I mean, it's bound to happen when you're in the same city, but isn't that an easy thing to see? Mm-hmm.
Like, at
Yeah.
first I was like, did he follow her because he had like some intel on who was going to
Yeah.
be on the show? But then she said that they had mutuals. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how big the town is. I don't think it's very large. I'm sure the dating scene is insular. We already discussed how people went to the
Profile.
same high
Mm-hmm.
schools, da da da. So I think that he came across her, um, like, just on Instagram.
Yeah.
Don't know why he followed and unfollowed her. Um, and then figured out pretty quickly who she was in the pods and remembered that she was cute.
But what are the
And
odds
I think that he
that
probably
he
did
was able
pursue
to
her
make it
with
to
her
be
looks in
her
mind,
number
which is
one with
contrary
the
to the premise
possibility
of the show.
that there might have been other guys that she would have been interested in? Like it was a huge gamble for him to take, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not sure if it
Yeah.
was a gamble or just
Because
like,
because even
I
if you
think the
weren't
question
sure
is,
who
did he know
someone
that she was
was,
going to be
her
on the show?
name, is he the
That's the
one who
part that I
asked
can't
what's your
quite figure
Instagram
out.
handle? Cuz someone asked that question or was it for Meg? I don't know. Yeah, someone asked, "What is your Instagram handle?" If he's the one, then he definitely knew, or he was just doing confirmation. Because
I
how
can't
many
remember.
people are going to be Taylor, that is a registered nurse that likes Taco Bell, and then all that stuff? You've basically confirmed. It's kind of like Uche and his and that the other lady, Lydia, who knew they knew who it was, and it's bound to happen when you do stuff in the same city. It's just the odds are, what are the odds that people in the same
Lydia.
circle will apply to be on Love Is Blind? And that's how it happened. So that's how the sixth episode ends. Did we miss anything, or is there anything else you want to add? Well, I don't know if it's going to be bad because of the drama
No,
that's
I think this
coming, but
season's
I
going to
think
be
it's going to
pretty
be
bad.
bad in terms of success rate. just, I think I should just give up the dream of happy couples because,
I feel like we're only going to get like two weddings, which is annoying to me. But this everything about this
yeah.
season is very weak
Usually I
sauce.
play the game
The
of who's going to go
personalities,
to
the
perfect match.
people, the
I
strength
could
of the
only get like
relationships.
maybe
Everything looks
Mason.
pretty weak right now.
Every like the fact that I couldn't even get up to three people that are gonna be cast on Perfect Match is kind of crazy. But we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much for coming to recap this with me. Always a pleasure. And we shall see. We shall see how this ends up, as always.
Thanks for having me. We shall see. So I just so
Yes,
people
we'll
know,
find
I
something.
am not
There'll be
scheduled to
something
cover
coming
the
out.
rest of Love Is
All right,
Blind.
guys. Thank you for listening.
But I'll be
And
back with something
remember,
else, I'm
the
sure.
rest of the episodes I will be covering with Nana, and it will be available on Patreon. Bye, guys.